Welcome to the Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
My name is Eugenia Kuzmina. I am a model, an actor, comedian, and a mom. I was born in Siberia. My dad was a nuclear scientist, and he was one of the first responders to Chernobyl. I moved to Paris at 15 to start modeling. I actually started modeling in Russia like a long time ago when I was a baby, literally from the hospital. They took me, and then I got kids in Los Angeles and kind of transitioned into acting and comedy and everything else. I was born in like end of the 80s, and at that time, it was still Soviet Union, and a lot of times there were articles in newspapers. There wasn't really a show business, but it was more like a little bit of a propaganda, how all the Russian babies are so healthy and this is what we do and we're the best in Olympics. So also in Russian hospitals, the baby's taken from the mom straight away. It's not like in America. We're taken away for like a week and separated in a different room, which is a very different, kind of process of birth. And I was taken to the room with other babies, and the Russian newspaper came in and they decided to take me, and they didn't tell my mom that, I was taken. My mom was like, "Where's my baby?" What happened? So that's how I started modeling without consent. But later in life, I kind of got back to it. I did a few things in school. I was just chosen, there wasn't really modeling until like end of 90s in Russia when American companies started to come. I remember Giselle was coming to our school to do a photo shoot. I had no idea who she was, but it was very exotic to see, the cameras. And then like Coca-Cola and M&M's and L'Oreal started coming to Russia, and they needed to scout, girls from, local regions to kind of portray and sell the products. So that's how I started modeling. I was approached a lot of times on the street. I had no idea what it is. For me, it was a way to skip school, which was much more interesting. And also I got paid more than my dad, who was a nuclear scientist. So that was a big motivation. And then I got scouted to go to Paris by Natalie Models, who was part of Elite Model Look. So that's how I got there. When I moved to Paris, I was so shy. I had no idea what modeling is, that you have to like present yourself and actually people have to want to buy products. So I was hiding in the corners, and I was never hired for maybe a year. I was bouncing around castings. And then one day there was a huge show that was casting for Yves Saint Laurent. Actually, when Yves was still alive, I was 15. And I remember going to this open call and walking into a room. First of all, you have to put on makeup just to meet him because, it's like a muse thing. And then I walked into his office, which was full of smoke and this creative energy, very like interesting. And we really connected because I think he was also an introvert, but very, very creative and really sensitive, artistic person. And somehow we connected, and he hired me to do this huge show for France, which was a big deal because it was like soccer championship where Paris team was playing, and they hired all the supermodels from like Naomi Campbell to Carla Bruni. So I got to walk with all these girls, which was absolutely, unimaginable for somebody who was 15, and just, the energy of that runway, because it represented so much more. It's about, like soccer, which is big. It's about culture and connection, and they won. And so that was definitely something that stayed in my mind. For sure. I think I was really lucky because my agent, she developed a lot of supermodels at the time, and then she started her own agency. So she kind of showed me the work of a model. Her name is Thierry Mugler. She was one of the supermodels. And then Naomi, of course, you look up to her to like the way she walks. And at the time when I started modeling, I think it was a little bit different than now, because like the way you walk in the runway, and you guys can watch videos and probably see it, you have to actually be almost like a dancer. It was a performer. You have to stand out. It was that time, you know. Now I feel like everybody has to be the same and like, you know, kind of be similar. So I definitely looked up to Naomi. I took some classes and like how to walk the runway. It's actually a skill, and I wasn't really good at it in the first, but then I remember, you know, working with Thierry Mugler and a few models there as well. Like now Nadia Orman, who is a German model who was, you know, very popular at the time, and I definitely looked up to her for just presenting herself and, you know, kind of projecting that image, which was very interesting. I know a lot of designers that I love that come from like one house to another by contract, so it's quite a different business right now. I really loved working with Nicolas Ghesquière, who worked for Balenciaga, and he kind of did a lot of brands around. I loved working with Alexander McQueen. That was actually very spectacular. You know, when you come to his fitting, I remember waiting, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe to fit in the clothes. And then he would come in, like not dressed like he just coming from the street or like, you know, watching Netflix, whatever it was at the time, with a burger. And he was just so street style and cool and like not pretentious and just very talented person. And I think it really reflected in his clothes and like that magical feeling. I love Dior. You know, there's so many. Albert Elbaz, who I worked with for Guy Roche, and he works with a lot of different, you know, clients as well. So yeah, they're definitely, you know, it kind of transitions from one designer to another, but a few of them are pretty talented. It's not something I really planned, you know, because of course, you know, I wanted to tell stories, and like you watch all these movies, especially growing up in Paris. It's so magical and something like that, but I never thought that I would have a chance to pursue it in any way, because in Russia it was really like propaganda. I said it was 4 channels and only kids of like politicians or kids of other actors could be in the business, you know, so there was no way to do anything. I did one show in Russia, which is called Yeralash. It's kind of like SNL, but the kids are in it. It's a little bit strange. It was quite popular. So I was pulled out, you know, from my school, but it was more like a mass kind of scene, but it was my first experience. When I had kids, actually, my husband is a producer. So somehow I found myself, when I had my first child, I moved to LA. And a lot of times the business is just revolved around, you know, movies and acting, and all the models, they are kind of called to casting calls for movies. So that's how I was with my agency, and I got a casting call for Rodrigo Prieto, who was a cinematographer for Babel, Wolf of Wall Street, and he was doing his directorial debut with Elle Fanning, and he wanted to show kind of like body image of women and like what is healthy and what is unhealthy. And I remember going to audition, and they asked me to portray like all the negative sides and things like that. But for me, it was so amazing to kind of express that, you know, and be honest about maybe what I was holding inside. And I was cast, and it was an amazing collaboration. And I kind of fell in love with that. You know, it opened a lot of doors, obviously. And I just thought it's so incredible to tell stories, not just with one picture, but actually be a collaborative process with other artists. You know, when I started acting, I feel because of my accent, like the roles are really limited. And now it's much more diverse. You know, I think there's much more consciousness that put into storytelling. But at that time, I'm like, okay, girl, like, you know, Russian girl of oldest profession, Olga, you know, I started having the same credits on my resume, and that was a little bit boring at the time. So I wanted to do maybe stage, but also there's not a lot of productions, you know, they're very specific with like your accent, and maybe, you know, not everybody can see you in all these different roles rather than typecasting. So I was doing a film with John Turturro in New York, and Woody Allen was part of it, and we were shooting in Carlisle Hotel, and I learned that Woody plays jazz and he does stand-up comedy. So it was kind of like an aha moment where I'm like, okay, stand-up comedy is not that far from stage, it's live, And also nobody will tell you what to say or do. Like you basically can, communicate and connect to people. And of course, then you get high on like laughter and, kind of connecting to total strangers. And that's incredible, I think, to kind of grow your voice, I think, for any person. I am so lucky to work with so many incredible artists. I just came back from the set, actually, 2021. I had a cameo in Guy Ritchie film. It's called Five Eyes, so I'm really excited about that. It was just really interesting to be on set, especially now, there are hundreds of actors involved in like our scene, and just to be part of the whole process. And he's just such a visionary that, it's very different with every director, but it was very interesting to see how it works and, how he puts the whole vision together. Well, I'm waiting for Spice City, a TV show to come out. It's a limited series with Dominic Cooper that was shot right before pandemic in Prague. It's really fun, Dominic is amazing. So waiting for that. Also, I did a film with Eric Roberts, it's an indie film, but I was so happy I wasn't typecast in a way, so it wasn't like a Russian spy or anything. And we shot in New York. I think it's a really cute family picture, play a mom and a wife, and it's really fun. I have a stand-up tour. We're planning to go to Vegas. Hopefully we can perform. We have talks to do it at the Wing Hotel. So it's still in the talks, but really excited about that. And then I'm working on some other projects, like actually for Model Mom, because I have the whole blog with that theme. And also I'm creating tarot cards with my photographer friends. So I kind of combine modeling and comedy and a little bit like of writing in that.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.